Well, Clara, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. First thing I want to say is congratulations. You made it through the entire 1 year fashion design and garment construction program. I'm really proud of you and your accomplishments and everything that you were able to get done in the 1 year. It was a pleasure to watch your growth throughout the
Thank
journey.
you. Thank
And thank you for taking the time to share your experience with me and with anybody else who might be interested in listening. Okay.
you. Okay.
All right. So thank you. And let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is for you to think about the beginning of the program. What was your life situation? What was going through your head? Why did you decide to join the Fashion Lab?
Okay. When I went to join the Fashion Lab, my life was it has slowed down a little bit, and I had the actual time to devote to school in the process. About 10 years earlier, I had started sewing again and rekindled my creative side. And I was designing draperies and bags and costumes for school plays. And I golfed a lot, so I was designing visors and things to go with my golf outfits. But I had a little studio that I had rented, and I was in that studio doing all of these different things. It was just a hobby, it wasn't a business. And the businesses that my husband and I owned and I managed, I was busy traveling with that. Maybe 7 months out the year, there was somewhere I was going, either for school, not for school, but for work or for pleasure. And so we had decided to decrease our working so hard. And we had, had some employees that we had promoted to a higher position. And about 2 years into that, my jobs that I was doing, my employees were doing, and I really had the time.
Okay.
So what happened was I, within when I started talking to the Fashion Lab about coming, that was about 3 or 4 months after. I mean, I made that decision in 3 or 4 months, boom, just like that, to go to school.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I was enrolled, I was in Atlanta, and I was ready for school.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were in Atlanta. Where were you living before?
No. I live up the road in Dalton, Georgia. That's about 90 minutes to 2 hours away, depending on.
Got it. Okay. And before joining the program or at the beginning of the program, what were some of the fears that you had or frustrations that you had coming into the program?
Well, okay. So, although I was very excited, I had never sketched. I didn't draw. I never picked a pencil up for anything. So, I didn't know if I could do that. And also, I know that designing takes a certain super talent skill, and I didn't know if I had it.
Okay. And how do you feel now that you crossed that hurdle? This was a fear and a frustration that you had, but you decided to go forward. Anyway, how do you feel now that you've taken that plunge?
Oh, very excited. Very excited. I was taught how to sketch and how to do some things, and it's just kind of exciting. It's exciting. I'm still exploring my skill set, still working with it, but I'm excited.
Got it. Okay. And coming into the program, what would you say were some of the dreams and desires that you had?
Okay, what were dreams and desires that I had? Well, I really wanted to know how to do pattern making, how to do designs, how to sketch. These are my dreams and some of my desires that I had. I had the studio, but I didn't have the skill set
Got it.
to to do what I want to do. I would sit there, I had a mannequin and I would drape it and put things on it and I would make something, but it wouldn't turn out right.
Got it. Got it. And you mentioned that you had been sewing for a while. What were some of the skills that you had before coming to us?
Oh, I could seamstress. I was a seamstress. I could, but with patterns, I could make anything with a pattern. Cut it out, sew it up, and make it fit. I could do that.
Got it. Okay, so the sewing wasn't so much of a concern for you, but you were using pre-bought patterns.
Yes.
Okay, got it, got it. Okay, and you mentioned that it only took you like 3 to 4 months to really decide that you wanted to join the Fashion Lab. Why do you think you were able to make the decision so quickly?
I had been wanting to do, a go to school, and probably over the last 4 years. During that time, I took a pattern making class from the Fashion Lab one time, and I had been looking at different places that had fashion schools. And I looked in New York, Chicago, Miami, with an emphasis on garment construction. And so when I was told that, the program had changed a little bit and that you wanted full-time students and you offered all of everything I wanted, I said, you know what? This is an opportunity. I have the time. I'm going to do it. So I just did it.
Got it. Okay, and I'll explain a little bit that you took classes with us before we had the 1 year or the 2 year fashion design and garment construction program. So you were taking kind of like an a la carte.
Yes.
Classes from our program as you wanted to, but then we transitioned to where you had to commit to the 1 year or the 2 year program, and you decided to go for it.
I just went. Family was not an obstacle. They said go for it, so I did.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And you said you researched a lot of other schools and a lot of schools in other states. Why did you ultimately choose the Fashion Lab?
My research of the other schools and the Fashion Lab had the information I needed just without all the other, what would you call it, liberal arts items.
Yeah.
And so I get to exactly what I needed, and you had everything. It wasn't anything that I needed that the Fashion Lab did not have. And some of the other ones, they had an emphasis on merchandising. They had an emphasis on these different areas. They were 4-year schools, different things like that. And it just didn't fit what I wanted to do.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And this is your opinion. With the right effort, can someone who has truly never sewn before still succeed at the Fashion Lab?
Yes, a student who has can succeed because the beginning of the class, every class that you're doing, you're sewing. You're learning to sew. The teachers are there. They're teaching you how to sew. And what I would recommend, though, is for them to practice. When I came back to sewing, I practiced. I would practice 1/4-inch seams. I'd practice 1/2-inch seams. And I would practice just the seam, get some piece of material and just practice. So you have to practice. You can't just get in there and you don't sew and think you're going to just start sewing, and you've got to do some practicing.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. So the outside of class practice is definitely important. Agreed. Agreed. So another question specific to you. So I know that you have a degree in math and you also have an MBA. Why did you decide to do fashion?
Yeah, it was quite a question because I have a degree in mathematics and I have a degree, MBA degree. Those are just totally opposite from a design point of view. But I seem to be able to do both. Math, what I like about math is a study of angles and real life situations. There's something called the golden ratio. And in my design, I use that golden ratio a lot to make sure things are pleasing to the eye. The wave of the ocean is part of this golden ratio. The Mona Lisa, the way her eyes are and the way her nose is in proportion, is falls within the realm of this golden ratio. And so it really fits. You would not think it fits, but it does fit. And the business classes will be very good as I open up my business and I start doing that. So that will help me there.
Got it, got it. Okay, great. All right, so we spoke about like your mindset and what you were thinking about when you first started the program. Now let's talk about the middle of the program when you'd already started and taken a couple of the classes in the program. As you went through the program, how did you see your perspective, your knowledge and skills changing?
Okay, so by the time I was in the middle of the program,
And that's approximately intermediate draping or so.
right, by this time I had a good foundation and I understood everything that was being taught. It wasn't difficult anymore in terms of trying to learn it. By this time, I had learned the foundation of it. So just like, okay, like with draping. And it was like drape it this way and sew it this way. I understood why.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I had started with draping, I probably could have done it, but I wouldn't have understood it. That I understood why I was doing that type of thing. And then I learned how to add a flair to it, a godet or contouring dress, or, my drafting skills got better. I got to the point where many times I would have to redo like drafting a sleeve. I might draft a sleeve 4 times for the same outfit. So by the time I got to that, you could wake me up and I could draft a sleeve. So I'd had lots and lots of practice by that time. So I understood what I was doing and why.
Got it, got it. Okay, so by the time you got to the middle of the program, you see like your confidence developing, and
Yeah,
things are not quite as new anymore, so you're feeling more secure with everything. Does that sound right?
yeah, I was more secure, and I could really say that by the middle of it, my passion for the fashion had gotten larger. I
Oh,
really loved it.
that's good. That's good to hear and good to know as well. Two things that you just mentioned. So how does that compare to how you were feeling in the beginning? So in the middle, your confidence is developing, but in the beginning, how does that feel compared to the middle?
Okay, okay, by the middle compared to the beginning, I felt more secure in my choice to do it. My friends and family they started asking me in the beginning, is this meeting the expectations that you had? And I would say, I think it will. I think so. And by the middle, it's like, wow, it's exceeding my expectations. Oh, yeah. So it was that type of situation for me.
Got it, got it. Okay. And would you say that in the beginning, maybe it's more of a struggle because you're learning these technical ways of doing things and maybe you're not seeing the big picture as yet?
I wouldn't call it a struggle. I wouldn't
Okay.
have a struggle. I just didn't know where I was headed.
Got it, got it, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you couldn't see where you were going. All right. And you also mentioned that there were times when you had to do things over like 3 or 4 times. Tell us more about that.
Okay. I had an assignment to go and like draft a, a jacket or a dress, a basic dress. That was a part of the beginning and the middle. I might draft it and it didn't fit right. And so I'd have to go way back on my thing and say, oh, this part should have been this way. I didn't read that correctly. And I'd redo it, you know. And so by the middle of the end of the middle, I could draft it correctly the first time because I knew it.
Got it, got it. And that's one of the things that you were really good at too. You didn't mind putting in the extra work to do things over multiple times until you got it right. And I think that that's one of the things that differentiates our students that do really well from those that don't do so well. Like you mentioned before, this is a program where you have to put the work in, right?
Yes, yes, you have to work in. But you know, I when I came there, I already knew that my seam ripper was my best friend.
Okay. That's good to know and good to hear. All right. So as you went through the program, what would you say was different than you expected? Like coming in, maybe you thought one thing, and then now when you're in the middle of the program, coming closer to the end, what was different than you expected?
Didn't realize that I would have so much practice learning a concept. I thought you would cover the concept and go on to something else. So that was a surprise that I had that a lot of practice. Pattern making, we had a lot of practice with pattern making. And so that was kind of a surprise that I had that. And then I was surprised that all of a sudden it clicked what it is I'm trying to do. And it wasn't, it's easier when something clicks, you know, when you have to go and you have to measure. So, I mean, even the thing of measuring a mannequin was a foreign concept in the beginning. And we measured and measured and measured so many times that it finally clicked what this is. So that was kind of a surprise.
Got it, got it. Okay, so you didn't know how much practice you'd be getting in each of the different areas and basically how deep you would get to explore each of the different areas of fashion design.
Exactly.
Got it, got it. Okay. And is there any, this probably is duplicative based on what you just said, but just to ask it anyway, is there any great benefit that you hadn't expected?
Is there a benefit to what I expected? I would say the benefit is confidence. You know, I'll tell you another thing you have a little bit of fear of when you first get started is cutting fabric and making a mistake. You know, you're afraid to cut this fabric, it's not going to fit. But now I have confidence because I know that the pattern fits. You know, the Fashion Lab teaches you how to make sure that pattern fits before you cut the fabric. And so I cut this expensive fabric and it works and I'm not afraid of it. So I think that's a huge benefit when you're sewing, to not have that fear of you're going to mess this fabric up.
I agree with you. A lot of people have that fear, and confidence is one of those things that before people start, they say that's what they're lacking. So to hear that that's something that greatly improves through the program, I think is very helpful. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about, you've already mentioned some, but did you have any triumphs or victories as you went through the program?
Yes, I did. My biggest triumph and victory was sketching those croquis, putting my designs on them. That was a big triumph and challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned that that's something you didn't really do at all before coming to us. And quite frankly, your sketches look really good now.
Thank you.
You should be proud of yourself.
So that was a triumph.
Clara, how much time would you say you spent practicing per week?
Okay, in the beginning of the year, I would probably spend 3 or 4 hours a week practicing. And then in the middle, things get busy and you have a lot to do. I'd say 5 or 6 hours in the beginning. And then the last semester, minimum 20 hours. It was a lot of work. So I was busy every week, every day almost doing something.
Okay. Okay. So in the beginning, 3 to 4, and then in the middle, you saw it transition to like 5 to 6, and then at the end, about 20 hours per week. Okay. All right. And for you, what would you say is one of the most exciting things that you learned or accomplished? Maybe you already said it, but
I, I think too that one of the things I accomplished that was exciting was developing a full product line, where you have a whole line of clothes like a regular designer does. It was complex and I was excited to do that.
great, great. Yeah, collections is one of my favorite parts of the program because you see, I get to see all come together for the students,
Yeah.
the entire process. So, and what would you say were some of your favorite subjects or classes?
Okay, my subjects were like the advanced drafting and the learning to do that fine garment construction. But my next favorite was the Adobe Illustrator.
Ooh, very technical. Maybe that's because of your math background.
It was, I did computer science for years and years and years also. So I just love that Adobe Illustrator. It wasn't long enough.
Okay, that's good to know, Clara. All right, now we're gonna transition to the end of the program and just thinking about what you accomplished at the end of it all. So, first question, what have you achieved and what are you most proud of?
Okay, I'm out of my portfolio, and I guess I achieved the skill set to sketch my designs, draft the pattern and sew the finished garment. That's quite a bit.
Agreed, that's a big deal. And specifically, maybe you just said it, but are there any goals that you accomplished for yourself? Like, coming into the program, you were hoping to achieve X, and then at the end of it, you did.
Yeah, said it when I started the journey, I wanted to be able to have a design and make the pattern for it, you know, dra- drape it on drape it because I have a dress form and sew it where it looked like it came out of a store, not not homemade, and learn the skills to do a fashion business and learn how the fashion industry even works. I didn't have any knowledge in that when I first got started.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And let's talk about where you were before coming into the program. I know you said you knew how to sew, right? So
Yeah,
would you say you felt confident and competent in fine sewing and techniques and how to finish garments professionally before you came to us?
I knew I would say probably 70% of that. Now I'm up to 100%. I did learn some techniques I did not know.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And how about how to make patterns?
I knew nothing about that. I learned that 100%.
Okay, all right. And fashion sketching and illustration?
I learned that 100% here in school.
Okay, all right. And putting together a fashion portfolio?
I didn't know what that was either. So now, yes, I learned how to do that.
Got it. Okay. And how about coming up with a design concept and bringing it to life with your garment construction skills?
Yes, that was doing that was a new concept for me. And I'm still thinking about that.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. And would you say, in a nutshell, very simple question, are you happy with the skills that you've gained at the Fashion Lab?
Oh, yes, I'm 100% satisfied with the skills I've gained at the Fashion Lab.
Okay, good. Happy to hear that, Clara. All right. So let's wrap up now and just leave a few words of advice for maybe current students or people who are thinking about prospective students who are thinking about coming to the Fashion Lab. What do you wish you'd known when you joined the Fashion Lab? Maybe something you didn't think about before and you wish you'd known before you started.
Well, I think something I did not know that I think a new student would need to know about the Fashion Lab. The year program is very fast paced, and you really don't need a lot of distractions. You've got to be willing to put that time aside, or you can't be successful.
Got it. Got it. So you definitely need to be focused to be able to get the work done in the 1 year program because it's fast paced, right?
Fast paced. The other suggestion I have is near the middle, you're going to have an assignment that is given to you in addition to your classwork. You really need to start working on that and try to finish that up before the next class starts.
Got
It's
it.
very difficult to have something hanging over your head to do and the brand new classwork.
Got it. Okay. So manage your time well so that things don't start piling up on top of each other. Got it. Okay. And what would you say to any prospects interested in the Fashion Lab?
I would say that the Fashion Lab is definitely going to give you the skill set for your fashion business and skills. It's a very good program. The teachers are excellent, and I'm not trying to say it's going to be concentrated and no distractions. So if this is what you want to just dive into it and get all the knowledge at one time and keep going and no distractions, I would definitely recommend this for you.
Got it. Okay. And based on your expertise, who would you say is an ideal Fashion Lab candidate? What traits and desires should this person have?
Well, I think a person who is dedicated to what they want to do. Um, if you're interested in fashion, that means you already have a desire for fashion. The Fashion Lab will bring out your talent. So you don't have to worry about all that. It will bring it out for you, it will train you for it. You just have to be willing and have the grit to keep with it.
That's great advice. And grit is such an important word, you know? Yeah. Being able to stick through things even when the going gets tough, knowing that if you stick with it and you do the work that's necessary, then it will all come together in the end.
That's right. Right.
Thank you, Clara, for your words of wisdom and your advice. I hope you know that now you're part of the Fashion Lab forever. So
Yeah.
so don't be a stranger. And if you need us, please reach out. It was our pleasure to watch you grow throughout the year. And we hope to see even more growth from you, even now that the program is done.
All righty. No problem whatsoever. Thank you so much for
Thank
all the
you.
skills, everything I learned.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Thank